Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by Rick Cesari. Rick is the founder and CEO of Cesari Ignite, and he's also the author of the upcoming book, Building Billion-Dollar Brands. Rick, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be here, Jonathan.
That's great to have you. It's to hear on the show. We were jamming a little bit offline, back and forth, trying to sort of hone in on today's topic, and you had run this idea by me that I loved immediately, because I think on the show we always, there's always like the latest, the newest, the trendiest, the flashiest sort of thing that people want to talk about, which I think is great. There's definitely always that room for growth and improvement and the way that things evolve. But today I love the fact that we're going to be getting back to this idea of timeless marketing lessons that always work, and it's really kind of this idea of getting back to basics. And before we get into today's topic, which I'm excited for, Rick, maybe you can tell our listeners a little about what you're up to, and a little about what you and the Cesari Ignite media team are up to.
Oh, that sounds great. So I'm excited too. I love sharing what I call my timeless marketing tips. I started my marketing career. I'm a direct response marketer, and I started way back when, I'm going to age myself now, when we were using newspaper ads to drive people to seminars, all the way through one of our latest campaigns, which was for the GoPro camera, which was obviously mostly online and digital. Yep. And in between then have helped build many prominent brands like the George Foreman Grill, OxyClean, Sonicare, Clarisonic, but all of them have used basic direct response principles. And so what I've found is, marketing can be very complicated. It's like what you just said, Jonathan. You're looking at always the latest and greatest, and I should be here, and social media are doing it. But I think a lot of people miss out on a basic layer of foundational things that they should be doing in all of their marketing, and that's why I put together this list of 11 tips.
Yeah, certainly you're revealing your age, talking about using newspaper ads to sort of drive that traffic. But I think it's so important because you have perspective, that gives, and that can be sorely lacking, because there's so many things that are just the flash in the pan. There's so many things that have the razzle dazzle, but you've seen it through so many different iterations. You've seen the evolution, and you're bringing that perspective to bear on lessons and techniques that still have that are still applicable today, but you've got that perspective. So that's why I'm very excited to have you on the show. You actually have 11 of these timeless marketing tips for growing your business. We're not going to have time to get through all 11 today, so we're going to focus on sort of the top ones that you've got, and we'll provide our listeners with a link after the episode so that they can check out the list in its entirety. But Rick, why don't you take it away? Where are we starting today?
All right. Well, the first one on our list, on my list, and it's a lesson I learned when I was very young. I was a lifeguard in Daytona Beach, Florida, and the only way I could make money, I would sell suntan lotion to the tourists when they came down. And so the first one on the list is always upsell. And what I learned when I was doing that was I would spend just as much time selling one bottle for $8 to people laying by the pool as I did if I put together a system of pre-tanner, tanna, after tan that might sell for $80. And so it was a very early lesson, but I actually took that information and have used it through all of my direct response marketing. And a lot of online, if you're looking at online info marketing courses these days, all of them have like a ladder of I'm going to call it ladder of success or a ladder of sales, where they might start with a free book, and then you end up purchasing a course, and then you might get a webinar, and then it might get personal coaching. But it all started back with always keeping in mind that whatever you have, if you have loyal customers, there's always something else that should be sold to them. And I'm not saying it into terms of let's just sell anything to make money. It needs to fit in with something that can help the people and that will be beneficial to them. But always keep in mind that you should always be upselling once you've created that initial sale.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. I think that number one, today, people's time is such a valuable commodity, and that you're going to be, if you're able to get someone's time, like you said, it's going to be just as much of an investment to sort of explain, one service offering as it will be to offer sort of a upsell, so to sort of the premium service or whatever it is. I think that's one thing, is that it's good, like you said, it's the same amount of time investment. And number two, upsell, I think for me, upsell sometimes it can have a negative connotation. It feels like, someone's just trying to get more money out of me. But I think that in reality, upselling is also really about finding the right fit for your client. You have a client that wants to do business with you. You have a service or a product or an offering that they want. They're going to get value out of. But maybe there's something that they're going to get even more value out of. And I think that's a big part of upselling. It shouldn't necessarily have this negative, I don't want to just try and get more money out of someone. No, I want to provide this person with the maximum amount of value possible.
Absolutely. And that's really the key to it, is not just looking at it like, how can I make an extra dollar, but how can I deliver more value to the customers that are responding to my marketing message?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. All right, so that's number one, always upsell. What do we got for number two?
I'm going to skip to number 4 on my list, one of my favorites. There's an old saying, features tell and benefits sell. And again, it's something that you lose sight of. But I learned this lesson. My brother Steve and I, who are partners in Cesari Ignite, we started a company called Trillium Health Products. And one of the main products we marketed was the Juice Man juice extractor. And at the time, the two companies that were the biggest in that field were two German engineering companies, Braun and Krups. And because they were German engineering companies, they focused on the features of their machines. We had a stainless steel blade, and we have a powerful motor, and we have dishwasher-safe plastic. And they were marketing them like an appliance. And my brother Steve and I came in and really started the trend or concept of marketing the benefits of the juice. If you drink the juice from this machine, you can lower your cholesterol, lower your blood pressure, you can have more energy, you can help live longer. And we struck a chord, and we were with the right product, with the right message at the right time. And our sales grew from 0 to 75 million in a little over 3.5 years. But really the foundation of that was focusing on the benefits of what our product provided and not the features.
Yeah, and I think that in terms of the marketing world, that is such a valuable lesson, because you're putting you're thinking about the client. You're thinking about what is their real pain point. I'm not here talking about like, all the great things that I'm doing or we can do or all these amazing. It's like, what is your pain point? What is the client trying to accomplish? And so the benefits is more client centric than the features.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And these things I'm mentioning them what they are. I'm giving a real life example. And again, I call them timeless because it worked many years ago, but it works current with whatever you're marketing. I'll give you another example. The next one on the list, a marketing tip is always educate the consumer. And by this, I mean, a lot of people try to quote unquote sell a product or sell. And I've always been a big believer in selling through education. And you can go all the way back to when I was selling suntan lotion person to person. I would explain the benefits of why they needed this and what would happen if they didn't use it. But let me give you a better example. The Sonicare toothbrush, it was a $150 toothbrush. They were having trouble getting it distributed at retail. And so what we did is, what was unique about the Sonicare toothbrush? It used sonic technology, and it had the ability to clean beyond the bristles. And that was a really powerful, unique selling proposition. But still, to the consumer, that really didn't mean anything. So we had to educate the consumers about the cause of gum disease and then show that the Sonicare technology was the solution to the problem. The cause of gum disease was the bacteria that would hide in the nooks and crannies of your teeth. Well, here's a product now that would clean beyond the bristles and help eliminate gum disease, and we would guarantee people that they would get a better dental checkup, and sales on that product took off as well. So again, it's a basic foundational marketing concept, but it's one that we use regardless of the product we're marketing. We're always thinking like, how can we educate the consumer so that they're making a decision to buy the product based on the information they have? And it's really, I always like to think of it as like just common sense. Like, why wouldn't they buy the product after they have this information?
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's so easy to when you think about your company, your offering, the benefits inside and out. You know that it's valuable. I think it's easy to default to like, look at all these great features. Like, I know that this is a great service. I know that this is a great product. Like, look at all the things that we can do is an easy thing to default. And it's a little bit tougher to stop and say, no, what are the ultimate benefits? What are the problems that I'm really solving for the end client? Let's think about them and put them front and center. And this idea of always educating the consumer, I think, is valuable as well. I mean, that is another area in which you are putting them first. You're offering this value, educating them, and that can sort of, that can get wrapped up in everything else that you're doing. So, yeah. So those are some great lessons. Rick, what do we? What's the next lesson that we're going to be talking about?
All right, the next one is one of my favorite, and it really shows you how things, as much as things change, they really stay the same. So the tip is always use key opinion leaders, or a better term or newer term for those are influencers. And I'll give you two examples, an old one and a new one. Going back to the Sonicare thing, we got the Sonicare toothbrush in the hands of as many dentists and periodontists as we can, because they had the ability to influence their clients into buying the product. And why that, what I call professional market, wasn't very large from a sales perspective, the impact it had on the consumer market was huge. Now let's fast forward to GoPro camera. The foundation of the GoPro was getting that camera into the hands of the influencers that for the demographic that they were after, which was extreme athletes. So surfers and mountain bikers and skiers and snowboarders, they would get the cameras out to these people. These people would make amazing videos, post them online. The videos would go viral, and that helped, build that brand tremendously. And so it's always a good idea, with whatever product or service you're marketing, to see if there's a way of leveraging the key opinion leaders, the influencers, to help build your brand. And the secondary benefit that you get from that is really that these people bring credibility to your product. It's almost like an implied endorsement when they're using your product. And again, that's something that before people are going to buy something, they're looking for that. Who else is using it? If so-and-so is using it, I can trust that product, that it really works. So it's a really powerful marketing tip that we always try to utilize whenever we're marketing a product or service.
Yeah. And Rick, I know a lot of the examples that you've given, are great examples. The examples, the world that you're in can be sometimes B2C focused, but I think that these marketing tips are still relevant. I mean, and maybe you would agree that these marketing tips are still very, very relevant in the B2B space, especially as the B2B world, I think, embraces some of the lessons that B2C marketers have known for years.
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head. These concepts can be used. And I'll give you an example. The next one right after the key opinion leaders is always use authentic testimonials. And how powerful, again, it's a basic thing, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't do this on their website or whatever. If you're a B2B business, again, if you get testimonials from happy customers and you really use them liberally, sprinkle them throughout your website, throughout your communication, again, it's people that are kicking the tires and are thinking about using your product or service. they want to see that other people have had a good experience. And so that's something that all of these really apply both to B2C or B2B. And it's really what I would like to point out is just make sure that you're looking at some of these fundamental things when you're doing your marketing and trying to get as many of them in place. And it will definitely boost the results that you're looking for.
Well, Rick, this has been some tremendous content. We actually managed to make it through 5 of the 11, which I think is even slightly better than what we were expecting to make it through. If anyone that's listening right now wants to follow up with you, they want to find out more about Cesari Ignite, they want to find out more about your upcoming book, Building Billion-Dollar Brands, or they want to find out even more about the other 6 timeless marketing tips, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Great. Well, the best, they can download the 11 timeless marketing tips. I put together a nice little e-booklet for them that they could download, and they can get that at Cesari Ignite. It's CESARI Ignite, IGNITE.com/branding. And they'll be able to download that. And my book that's coming out will be coming out in October of this year, 2017. And there'll be information about that on our website. And just a real quick, the title, Building Billion-Dollar Brands, I've marketed like hundreds of different products over my lifetime, but 2 of them, the George Foreman grill and the GoPro camera, both went to $0 to $1 billion in sales, and that's where the title of that book came from.
Fantastic. Well, Rick, thanks again so much for your time today. It was a real pleasure having you on the show.
Hey, thanks, Jonathan. It was great.
If you're a B2B marketer, we want to feature you on sites like the Huffington Post, Social Media Examiner, and Chief Marketer. Every week, we send out a question related to B2B marketing. We use the responses to those questions to fuel the content we write for really popular websites. So head over to sweetfishmedia.com/questions and sign up today.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.